So, what is an argument? In general, when we talk about arguments, when we say, oh, those two people got into an argument, the first thing that comes to mind often is that they got into a fight. That's one understanding of the word argument. There is another meaning as well. The word argument also means when I'm trying to convince someone of something. Let's say two people are discussing whether a particular businessman was a good president or not, and one person's presenting facts for why that person was a good businessman, a good president, and similarly the other person's presenting facts to prove why that person was not a good president. Then that's an argument in which each person is trying to convince the other of their viewpoint. That's the kind of arguments we're dealing with in CR. Arguments wherein the author is trying to convince us of something. And in order to convince us of something, the author uses certain bases, on the basis of which they're trying to convince us why we should also believe that. So when it comes to CR arguments, we are not dealing with fights, we are dealing with someone trying to convince us of something. There is one more aspect related to arguments as well. Let's say I tell you, oh, John is driving a Mercedes, therefore John is rich. Is this an argument? Sure. I'm trying to convince you that John is rich. On what basis? The basis that I'm using is that he's driving a Mercedes. If you were to refute my argument, if you were to check or question whether my argument makes sense or not, you could get into something like, but is it necessary that everyone who drives a Mercedes is rich? Maybe he's just the chauffeur of the car. Maybe he bought it secondhand. Maybe he used to be rich at one point, but he no longer is. These are all logical rebuttals to my argument. Logical rebuttals. What we won't do in critical reasoning is you can't refute my argument by saying, oh, no, that car that John is driving anyway is not a Mercedes. If I said John is driving a Mercedes and therefore he's rich, I did say that he's driving a Mercedes. And then you take that at face value. Right? We're not debating the facts that I present. We're debating, or you could think about whether the conclusion or whatever is being said on the basis of those things, the main point being made, whether that makes sense or not. So what we're dealing with here is the logic of the argument, not the factual integrity of the facts used in the argument.